Mr. President, there are 28 yea, 21 nay.
Having received a constitutional majority, engrossed substitute House Bill 2118 as submitted by the Senate is declared passed. Title of the bill will be the title of the act.
And with that, your FFL is now sitting on death row. Hello again, everyone. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. What we are talking about today, Washington, is the passage of House Bill 2118 by the Washington State Senate last night. Now, there was some changes, so we'll have to go back over to the House for some reconciliation, but there is plenty of time, and from there, it will then go to the governor's desk where it absolutely, positively will be signed. We're going to give you some of the highlights and the lowlights from last night's very long and drawn out hearing, tell you what was said and who said it. And then most importantly, we're going to have to talk about Washington State signs an entire industry's death warrant.
You know, you go to the range all the time so that you don't end up in the morgue.
But hey, where do you go to stay out of prison? Listen, we realize that it's pretty easy to find the training necessary to stay out of the morgue, but where do you find that training to stay out of prison? I got an idea. Why don't you just let Washington Gun Law bring the training to you? That's right, the whole month of March, we are going on a road trip to all of these locations so that we can teach you about the laws of self-defense in the state of Washington. We'll start from the very basics of self-defense all the way up to and through lethal force, and also advise you on what you should and should not do if, God forbid, you are involved in a lawful self-defense situation. So join us the entire month of March at any one of these locations. The registration link is right down below. It's also in the description box. Sign up now. Spaces are filling up fast. We hope to see you in March. Okay, what are we talking about yet again today? We are talking about the most atrocious piece of legislation to come out of Olympia this year related to your inalienable Second Amendment rights, which of course is House Bill 2118, a George Orwellian dystopian, absolute, complete unlawful surveillance and many other retrofitting requirements mandated by the state legislature, all designed to put every single FFL out of business. Now, debate was hot and heavy last night. There was a total of about 30 amendments that were ultimately filed on this. And somewhere along the way, and I almost shot a video about every single one of those amendments, and I'm so glad I didn't, because sometime before last night's debate, apparently a deal was struck between the two parties in which about 20 of those amendments would actually be withdrawn, one of which was actually going to get bipartisan support, and it does help out the FFL industry quite a bit, so we're going to talk about that. And then the other 9 remaining amendments to be debated, of course, were all summarily shot down. Every one of the amendments was really just designed to soften the blow, predominantly focusing on small businesses. And so we saw a lot of these amendments come from senators in rural parts of the state where obviously the small mom-and-pop operation is the FFL that is serving that community. And that is going to really go the way of the dodo bird if 2118 is affected into law and not overturned by a court. The only people that will be able to survive this is the big box stores in the large urban areas. Okay, so if you're out in Grant County, if you're up in Pend Oreille County, Stevens County, Ferry County, any of those types of places, I do not know how your FFL, especially if it's a home-based FFL, is going to survive this. Now, I want you to know that every time a Republican got up with a very passionate plea about an amendment and how it was really designed to either save small business or protect personal privacy, the hit person, that is the person who the Democrats selected each time to get up and basically piss all over that argument, was none other than Manka Dhingra. I wonder if that's because she's running for Attorney General. Now, we'll be doing some more videos about Manka as we get closer to the election season. But one of the big issues that was fought very passionately by Senator Padden out of Spokane last night was to remove the audio recording because it is an absolute horrific invasion of privacy. Now, Senator Dhingra got up and not only poo-pooed that whole idea, but I think she told us quite a bit about why she so much enjoys audio recordings and what she plans on doing with it should she become the Attorney General.
And I have to say, Mr. President, you will be very surprised what people say in recordings, and they can be an extremely valuable tool for law enforcement and for prosecution. So I'm going to ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That is the person who wants to be your future Attorney General, Serrano for AG. Now, the speech of the night was the last speech given right before this went to a floor vote, and it was by Senator Linda Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today vehemently to denounce this proposed legislation. As has been said already several times, it threatens to end the livelihoods of thousands of hardworking Washingtonians who are selling a legal product simply because of misguided bias against this product.
And we're only showing you just a couple of the clips here, but Senator Wilson absolutely crushed it last night.
Imagine if these onerous regulations of House Bill 2118 were extended to the sellers of other products, legal products that can harm, like cars, or knives, or alcohol, or cannabis. Firearms dealers were being put in prison for failing to comply with these rules. We would have heard about it, Mr. President. It'd be all over the news, but we're not. And another thing that the maker of this bill stated, that most guns are stolen out of cars, not gun stores. You know why that might be? Because they keep restricting the places that we are allowed to carry. So why? Please tell me, is this body penalizing an entire industry where, again, has done nothing to do with over 98% of the stolen firearms in our state? Here's my theory, Mr. President. There are people who simply don't want firearms in our state, but they can't legally confiscate these firearms or regulate them out of our hands. So instead, we get a bill like this, which targets the other side of the equation, the supply side.
And so kudos to Senator Wilson for some amazingly well-articulated arguments, all of which were true. And as her and I had a private conversation, they all fell on deaf ears. That is also equally true. But I did want all of you to know how hard Senator Wilson and all of her colleagues in the GOP fought last night like holy hell to try to protect your inalienable rights and save the FFL industry. Now, the big amendment that actually went through was one that was proposed by Democratic Senator Mark Bullitt, also running for governor, I would point out, where this would then take the amount of time that an FFL has to store the video recordings. It had gone from 6 years down to 2 years, and now it's gone from 2 years down to 90 days. The senator basically set it up like this.
90 days should make it more affordable for our small business owners. I encourage your support.
And then there was very little debate. Senator Peterson, also a Democrat, got up, endorsed it as well. That was the end of discussion, and it was passed. So this bill now will have to head back over to the House because it needs to be reconciled. It came out of the House with a 2-year storage requirement. It now has a 90-day storage requirement for all essential points of sale, and where firearms are kept 45 days for the non-essential areas. So it'll have to go back to the House. The House will have to reconcile it. I see no reason why the House is going to stall this bill out over that disagreement. From there, it's going to head to the governor's desk. Is he going to sign it? Of course he's going to sign it. When has Jay Inslee ever found a piece of civilian disarmament legislation that he didn't absolutely positively adore? From there, let the lawsuits begin. Now, the effective enactment date on this legislation is set to go into effect July 1st of 2025, next summer. That will give some FFLs the ability to retrofit their building. That will give other FFLs the ability to put their business up for sale, and it will give other FFLs opportunities to shut their businesses down, the latter of which is exactly what the state legislature wants, the latter of which is exactly what this bill was written for. I can assure you that this is not the last we will be talking about this bill. I can also assure you that there are probably lawsuits already warming up as soon as this is signed by the governor. I just have a sneaky feeling here that we'll probably be talking about some lawsuits. Okay, the bill once again is House Bill 2118. We will link it up down below so that you can geek out on it for yourself. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is all also down there in the description box. And then finally, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.